Has he dead? Someone's in red tower! Triple him dead!
Nice! That was
Doubled him dead. Doubled him, tripled him. Recycler. Dead! What? Killed one!
One of the reasons Rust console appeals to so many people is the challenge that it brings. More specifically, the recoil pattern. Over the 2 years this game's been out on console, people have been fixated on getting their aim down to a dot. So much so they would buy Zens, which is no recoil, and Zims to just play mouse and keyboard on. Both these devices pretty much eliminate recoil for the game. However, for anyone that is starting to play this game on controller or continues to play it as a legit controller player, fair play to you. And also, this is a video talking about my settings specifically over the 2 years I've played this game. Now, I've made 2 settings videos, one on my personal channel and then one on this channel. This is not only going to be about my settings, but how I control recoil myself. So without further ado, let's get into it. For anyone that isn't clued in on what's happening at the moment with Public Test Branch, they have released a new aim cone, I believe, or adjusted how the holo functions. Now, when you shoot, your holo bounces more as opposed or compared to main branch. I've done a video on this on my TikTok. There'll be a link below in the description for that. First and foremost though, we're going to cover my settings. There's going to be a few settings where it's personal preference and others where I would say if you're going to follow these, you need this here. So starting off with boost multiplier, I put it at 200%. I played from 100% at the start of the game to 300% because I just love high sensitivity. There's been plenty of occasions where I've turned on players because of the boost multiplier. But in recent times, I've turned it down to 200%, which is good so far that I've found. That is up to personal preference, whether you like high sensitivity or you're more of a low sensitivity kind of player. So I used to play 100%, but now it's knocked down to 85 for X and Y. Again, I'm going with the lower sensitivity, which has worked well so far, and especially with aiming in. If you have a low ADS and a low 1x, it'll work better if you have a low X and low Y, because if you've got a somewhat slow kind of sensitivity when moving around and sprinting, you look down your sights and it's the same kind of thing, it's sort of slow. Whereas if you have 100, you're running like with high sensitivity and then you go to aim in with low sensitivity ADS and 1x and it can throw you off a bit. So X and Y is 85. Going on to the camera sensitivity at ADS, this is 23%. I did have it on 25, but I've knocked it down. And this for me just works perfectly because aim down sights with iron sights specifically, I don't normally do long range with iron sights. It's normally if I pick up a gun from someone's body that I'm looting, or if it's close range combat. It's never usually too far. So to have slow ADS for the iron sight is crucial. Either you're going to be coming up against close range kind of PvP and you're going to need to aim down your sight for that, or you hip fire. There's really just 2 options for this. For my 1x, it's exactly the same at 23%. The highest I've ever had it was probably either 25 or 30, and sure, it works for like short range, but long range it just goes everywhere, and I believe that's down to the dead zone, which we're going to cover as well in this video. But 23% is the soft spot I found. I had it at 20 at one point and then I put it to 25, so I've kind of just gone in the middle at 23, and that's working perfectly for me so far. 4x, which for me is a personal preference, I've got mine at 35%. I did have it at 50, which was just crazy. I could not control it. I don't usually use 4x on weapons, definitely not the AK because I don't think there's any point. M2 of course, but then again I don't run with an M2 to Brad or anything like that. I only use it for raid defenses or raids. L9s, bolties, you get the gist, it's kind of up to you. Mine's at 35%. And for the bow, that doesn't really matter to me. It's personal preference. I've put that down to 30%. Sprinting camera sensitivity, I think that's always been 120 for me. I don't know if it's been all 120 for you, but that's just the default I found. And these are 2 important settings right here. So if you've been wanting to hear the important settings, this is it. The dead zone left and dead zone right. And both of these are at 3. Dead zone is basically how much you have to move your analog stick for it to input what you want it to actually do. So for example, if you have your dead zone left and dead zone right on 10%, you're going to be moving your analog stick a lot, whereas if you have it low, that means you're going to be moving it at a smaller amount. I would heavily say go to 5% first if you're on 10%. I always used to run 10%. It took a lot for me moving the analog stick to control the recoil, whereas now I don't have to do as much when I'm on 3%. Get used to a smaller sensitivity for that. And those are my settings. I wanted to deep dive into them for anyone that is new to the game or isn't familiar with the terminology of dead zone left, dead zone right, how that kind of thing works. I'll leave some timestamps at the start of the video for whatever part of the video you want to watch that you think will benefit you so you don't waste any of your time. And a little disclaimer, I don't think I'm the best player there is, not legit anyway. Just from my experience, I wanted to help anyone that needs a bit of help that can't seek any help, if that makes sense. So what I've done here on a build server is set up a little aim train. The 3 guns we are going to cover in this video is the Tommy, MP5 and AK. We're going to be testing out the iron sight, the handmade sight and the holographic. This is going to be tested on flame turrets since they don't break and they provide the same hit marker sound as you would shooting an opposition player. But before we deep dive into this, I wanted to show the sprays of each weapon that we're going to be covering in this video. Now we're going to be testing the iron sight, handmade sight and hollow sight on 3 different targets. We're going to have one that's nearest to us, which is going to be target 1. Target 2 is going to be in the middle and target 3 is going to be the furthest one away for this test. And we've also got some longer range targets, 3 of them as well. Two things to bear in mind is that I didn't warm up and I hadn't played for a week before doing this tutorial. So it goes to show it's not impossible to be able to control recoil on this game if you have a couple days off or you don't warm up. The thing that troubles me and a lot of other legit players is tracking on this game. Tracking is probably harder than controlling the recoil itself in my opinion. And this is why mouse and keyboard is so far superior in terms of the device to play on for any kind of game, whether it's on console or PC. Mouse and keyboard allows you to track so much easier, control it so much easier, which is why a lot of people play the way they play because of that. If you compare the new aim on PTB to main branch right now, you'll see the holo does go up a lot more and you'll have to get used to that. Some people have had trouble with it, some people haven't. But this was just kind of like a spray recoil control update. Unless you're putting loads and loads of hours in, your spray isn't going to be like a dot 100% of the time. It's never going to be like that. And as well, even if your aim does move, you're still able to hit the person. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a dot spray. And most people that do complain about other people not having a dot spray are the ones that just don't play legit themselves. It's just how it is with this game at the moment. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it's kind of like a little insight on how you can get better. The best thing I'll do is go on to build servers, set up a flame turret and just start spraying. Or you could get used to the actual PvP type situations happening in this game and hop onto the aim training, although they're usually queued up because there's not much of them available since they're not on main branch anymore, they're on PTB. Leave some support if you enjoyed the video and if it helped you at all. There's going to be a little white, it's not really a white progression, but we're going to have a video on how we built a vital main base in basically under a day, or pretty much a day. The progression was like anything I've ever seen in terms of just building a base. It was so rapid. But anyways, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.